Good evening. Thank you very much, Rabbi Ever, for giving me this time slot so I can speak for a few minutes. Being that today is my daughter's Hebrew birthday, I thought I would say a few words about generally, parents and children, and specifically about Shira. We know everything is in the Torah. I always like to say that there is nothing that is happening, or will happen that is not somewhere in the Torah, sometimes obvious, sometimes it's encoded. I've come up with some of my own, I believe, original, amazing codes about world events, specifically about 9/11, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Even things that we hear and we think it's attributed to other people or other religions or whatever it may be, is really, if it's truth, if it's emesdik, it's in the Torah. Nothing new has been created since the world was created 5,778 years ago. We're familiar with this concept, and I'm sure especially those who are parents and grandparents know that a parent can take care of 10 children, but 10 children can't take care of one parent. Now, many of you don't really know the source of it. It's actually written down about, almost 500 years ago, 480 years ago, the Shalah HaKodesh. The Shalah he's buried in Tzfas, and he was Rabbi Yeshaya Horowitz. He died in 1630, and he was an unbelievable tzaddik, one of the few people that we use the word kadosh after his name. And he's the one that says that he actually said it about a father, but it applies to both, that one father can take care of 10 sons, but 10 sons may not necessarily be able to take care of one father. The Chedushay Harim, which was Yitzchak Meir Alter, who was the first Ger Rebbe, he died in about 1866. He actually made a revelation that this idea of the Shalah HaKadosh is actually written in the Torah. Not necessarily written, but we can bring proof to this from the Torah itself. When Yehuda, son of Jacob, made an impassioned plea before the viceroy of Egypt, not knowing, of course, that it was his brother Yosef, he says, "You got to let me take Binyamin home. Come on. How is my father going to live? How's my father going to survive if I don't bring home his son?" The Chedush Harim asks a question which maybe we all should have asked if we knew the facts, and that is that at that time, Binyamin was a grown man. In fact, he had 10 children. So wouldn't the argument have been better that you got to let me take Binyamin home back to his family? How are 10 children going to be able to survive without their father? Instead of saying, how's a father going to be able to survive without Binyamin? So apparently, Chedush Harim says that somehow or another, children manage without a father, but a father cannot manage without his children, even if it's just one of 10, or in this particular case, it was one of 12. Now, we all our children love us, they respect us, but it is nowhere near the same of our love to them. And I once saw a very interesting explanation why that is so. Why is it that parents love their children more than children love their parents? And he says something unbelievable, simple, but I would never have thought of it on my own. I don't know if anybody here would have thought of it on their own. And that is that everything we are a result of what was transmitted to us from our parents, and they from their parents, and so on and so on and so on and so on, until we come up all the way to the first person on earth, Adam HaRishon. And whatever Adam HaRishon had in him that he was going to transmit to all the generations was given to him by Hashem. and he gave it over to his children, and so on. Now, Adam Rishon never could have had the characteristics of loving a parent, because he did the only one on the planet that never had a parent. So the only thing he was able to have is love his children, and that he transmitted on down. So his children could not have learned how to love a parent because Adam Rishon himself never loved a parent. So that's why this emotion, this characteristics of loving children was given by God to Adam Rishon. And afterwards, it was man taught. Man taught himself how to love a parent because it was not given directly from Hashem. It was only afterwards that man himself learned this necessary and beautiful thing of loving a parent, but it is not as strong as what God had imbued in man himself. And for this reason, Yehuda uses that argument, that how can my father survive without his children, because a father's love for his children is way above the love that a child has for a father. Now, having said all this, I'm going to step a little bit out of the box, and I'm going to say that there is at least one exception to this rule. And of course, I'm talking about my own daughter, Shira. You know, as parents, we try to give all the support and love for our children, to our children. And with that, we hope we provide them strength and confidence to overcome life's obstacles. But where do the parents get their strength? Especially those of us who unfortunately don't have any parents of our own. Where do we get the strength and the support and the confidence to go on? Unfortunately, like the Shloah Kodesh says, children sometimes are not that much invested in their parents to really give them that strength. Now, I just want to take a little side step over here, and I want to poll the audience over here and ask them, who believes that it's a mitzvah to love your father? Yes, I know. We have kabed savich, we have to honor them, we have to fear them. But do we have to love them? Whoever thinks we have to love them, let me know. Whoever thinks we don't have to love them, raise your hand. Well, I see that it's unanimous. Everybody over here thinks that there's no mitzvah of loving a father. So I'm pleased to tell you that all of you are 100% wrong. We do have a mitzvah to love our father. First of all, excuse me, you're correct. As Rabbi Rapport is saying, we have to love our father because he's no different than another person. And the Torah says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So if we have to love just a fellow Jew, certainly we have to love our father. But the Zohar says something else. It says where a person is made out of three parts, and that is his father and mother and Hashem, and everything that applies to Hashem has to apply to the father and mother. And the same level of fear and honor and love that we have for Hashem, and for Hashem we know it says, V'ahavta Hashem alakecha, you should love Hashem. Certainly we have to love our Father also. So, getting back to this evening, tonight, first of all, I want to thank Lynn for preparing some yummy treats, and Benny, of course, for always doing something beautiful, and we're doing this, and I'm doing this as a hakoras hatov to Hashem for providing me with a child that has given me so much. She's the source of much of my strength and inspiration. And I just want to close that absolutely amazingly, I realized last year for the first time that this trait that Shira gives me strength and that she's a wonderful child to me is actually encoded in her birthday. Today is the 28th day of Teves, which is Kaf Ches Teves. Kaf Ches is Koach, she gives me the strength. And Teves is a contraction of two words, Tov, Bas. Tes, Beis, which is Tov, and Beis, Tov is Bat, Tov Bat. She's a good, wonderful daughter. May Hashem give her also much blessing, at least as much as she has given me. And I thank you all for listening to this father. Have a wonderful evening.